Hello and welcome to the Bears and Lions podcast. This is the podcast where we challenge our present by viewing our past. I'm a firm believer our greatest future lies within the correct view of our past, because we can victimize our past all we want and say, oh, I've gone through X, Y, and Z and it was super hard and tough. But that super hard and tough thing actually created a resolve in you and a strength in you. And it's your job to find a way to draw from that strength. And that's exactly what my job is as well, is to encourage you and help you see it. And that's what we do here at this podcast, because I believe that when you do, it's going to give you confidence to step into your future. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the next opportunity you have and how to deal with the opportunities around, specifically when you hear no's as well, when to cash out and how to move forward in your career. I'm really thankful for this conversation. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much. I'd appreciate a follow and share this podcast with a friend or two. I will see you on the other side. Today, I want to talk to you about opportunity, specifically your next opportunity. I've kind of gone through some of my old notes that I've written down and some of the old interviews I've done, and I'm really excited to share about today because it really impacted me. It was something that was encouraging beyond my wildest dreams then, and it hit me now like a ton of bricks where I was like, wow, this has actually become a part of who I am, and I'm very thankful for that. But I want to break it down for you so it's digestible, right? These podcasts are a little bit shorter in order for you to be able to listen to on your way to work or getting ready for school. And I always want it to be designed that way, especially these sessions, right? I have the interview sessions that are longer. I do those once a month. Who knows, maybe one day I'll be doing them twice a month or even more. But these I always want to be able to have where we just go through a daily or a weekly mantra or different things or lessons that are learned. All right, so next opportunity, your next opportunity specifically, this is what I have found myself doing, is I will go up against an opportunity and I will question, is this the right fit for me? Can I actually do it? Sometimes I won't even attempt something unless I know I can succeed at it, and I never actually press myself on something I'm not sure I can succeed at. Now, I've gotten better at it over the years because I've done a lot more practice and I've actually put myself in situations that I could very well fail at. But at the beginning, I just remember in my early 20s and even mid 20s and late 20s, I didn't want to try things as much. I didn't want to push myself, right? I didn't want to chance that. So I want to break down the business terminology of opportunity cost. Right? A lot of us have probably heard opportunity cost. There's an opportunity cost, but what does it actually mean? An opportunity cost is the loss of potential gain from other alternatives when one alternative is chosen. I'm going to boil it down here so you can understand. In layman terms, opportunity cost is what you miss out on when you go left instead of right. Any decision that you make, right? It's the decision of, if I turn left, my life will turn out like this, but I'm going to miss out on all of those other areas, right? And vice versa. Whatever could happen if I turn the opposite side, right? So if you are having a decision of, do I go back to school to study this, or do I keep my job because I could succeed at that? The opportunity cost is, well, if you go to school, you could become successful in whatever endeavors that you have at a different time. You're going to meet people at a different time. So you don't know what connections you're going to make, and you're going to miss out on all the connections you have at your job. This is something near and dear to me. I legitimately went through this. When I was 23, 24 years old, I had an opportunity to go back to school for sports broadcasting. I also had a really good job that essentially I had been communicated that I was very successful at. And if I had stayed with that job, I would become a manager. I would make a lot of money. I would have a lot of opportunities. I would network. And school was, if you go to school, you could learn and you could succeed. Versus what I had in the pocket was that you're succeeding and you will succeed as you have that opportunity. I chose to go work. Instead of going back to school, I chose to work. right? So I missed out on all of the school opportunities in 2014, 2015, and in early 2016. And I worked and I made a lot of network opportunities. I worked all throughout the southern boot of Louisiana. I opened a bunch of different cafes for a restaurant chain. I learned invaluable lessons to help me communicate. I would literally sit in my room still, even when I worked, and I would mute TV and mute basketball games, hockey games, and football games, and I would cast them in my apartment complex just by myself. So I still was getting some practice, but that's just because I had this drive and passion for communicating, and I really wanted to do sports broadcasting. And the opportunity cost of that is I missed out on any of the things that happened in 2013, 2014, 2015 in sports, really. And there was an opportunity cost there because I missed out on all of that. But I also gained a bunch of things by the choices that I made, right? So every choice that we make, I want you to kind of understand this. You are going to go through moments and you have to make a decision. You have to choose left or right. And what I've noticed is that most people live their lives trying to kind of hug the middle lane because they don't know what exit to get off of. They don't know the exit ramp. And they're more afraid of trying and failing than they are of continuing on the same mundane path that they've been on. Now, I'm not saying my path was mundane in working because I did gain a lot of valuable skills. But I ended up going back to school anyway. I ended up at the later time going back to school with all the skills that I had, and it ended up paying off in dividends that are still paying off to this day. Even though I have plenty of debt from school, I made friendships and things at the specific time that I went to school later, and I'm very thankful for that. The other opportunity cost is if I had chosen to go to school, I would have missed out on all those skills and I would have had to learn them a different way. I wouldn't have had the connections or the really the momentum that I had. I may not have gone to school with the drive and the passion that I had either because I had learned all those valuable skills and recognized that I didn't want to do that. So there's so many ways to look at these decisions. So I understand if you are at a fork in the road, right? A mental crossroad, that you have this decision to make, and it's important to look at your next opportunity as what is the opportunity cost and name it. Now, I want to follow that up with cashing out, because what a lot of people will do is they will maybe take an opportunity, but they're only 1 foot in, 1 foot out, so they're not sure how they want to do things, right? And I remember when I was working for that restaurant chain, I actually lived in a city called Lake Charles, Louisiana, down in the very southern boot of Louisiana. And there's a couple casinos there, but the big one is LaBerge Casino. And I remember going there quite often on my off days and just I would relax. And mostly I would just watch sports for free because I didn't have the cable channels and I could literally go in there and spend a couple bucks and watch sports all day long. And so that's why I did. But there was a lot of times when I would be up and then there would be times when I would be down. And what I really learned there is that some people will lose themselves in chasing the idea of the big win, right? They want that, oh my gosh, I hit the jackpot. So they'll put hundreds of dollars into all these different machines or playing these different games or, Texas Hold'em or blackjack or however. And they would be looking for that one big win. And what I recognized early on is there would be days where I'd go in and I'd put $5 into penny slots and I would all of a sudden be up $15 and I'd be like, hey, whoa, $15, like, let's go. And so I'd pull out the $10 and be like, all right, cool. Today I had a good time. I watched sports and I made $10. And over time, there were days where I would be way up and then there would be days where I'd be way down. But for the most part, I recognized that it's actually possible for you to move forward in that mentality if you knew when to cash out. So there are areas in your life that you're going to go through and you're going to recognize very quickly, this is not for me. right? Maybe it is an exit that you got off and you're like, I want to try this. And you're going to find out, ooh, this is not for me. Maybe it's something that you get denied a job, right? You interview great, but somebody says, you know what, we didn't really like you right now, or you weren't a good fit, or maybe they didn't say anything. They just never called you back. Those are things that happen in your life and opportunities that happen that I would consider that a cash out. Cash out while you can, because your mentality and preparation for that job may not have been where it needed to be in order to get that job. So even if you had gotten that job, you wouldn't have been as successful in that position when you were there. And you need that time. And that's exactly what I look at the time when I was working as a manager for a restaurant chain in Louisiana. I learned that I actually got all the skills I could. So I was way up. I won the jackpot, essentially. Maybe not a big win, but like a couple $100 worth of skills. And I cashed out. And I took all those skills, and instead of sticking in that realm of management and food service and the thing, like working the hours, there was a 31-day period where 31 days straight, I was awake at 3:45 in the morning, and I would work 10 to 12 hours a day for 31 days straight. Not a healthy lifestyle. We talk about workplace balance. There's no balance there. There's no ability. Now, I did what I had to do, and I am encouraging you. If you are in that season, do what you must. Do what you must, but cash out when you gain those skills and while you're ahead, instead of staying in that memento of this is the only place I can succeed in, right? I've spent so many years in this company, so now I'm just going to be here. And I really did learn, though, in going to the casino, that some people lose themselves in chasing the idea of that one big win. It's this career or nothing. I was meant for this thing, and that's it. While other people will stack hundreds of small wins together over a course of a few years that end up equaling that same big win, right? I would go to the casino a couple times a week sometimes, and I would start with $5, or I would start with $10, and I would leave with 20. And after a while, I did realize that one point in time, I left and I was like $300 up just because I kept leaving with that little bit. Now, there were other times where I would, of course, go out to eat or whatever, and you don't get any of that money back when you go out to eat. Like, you just pay for the food at Buffalo Wild Wings, you watch the game, and there's no return. That is kind of how I view life and what we do, and some of these opportunities that I face is there an opportunity cost? And then after that, okay, so I know the opportunity cost. What skills am I going to learn? What could I learn in this opportunity? I don't know. Maybe it's unknown. And so you start doing it and you realize, oh, shoot, this may not be a great opportunity for me after all. Maybe it's not the right fit. Maybe you thought you were going to love this job, but you turn out that the job is not perfect for you. And so it's better to cash out knowing that you're just funneling money into it like a casino, and go do something else that you are better aligned with your skills, or saying, I'm going to learn these skills so that I can eventually be in a proficient area. But I think some people will stay in the same area for a long time because they've always told themselves, this is what I'm going to do, only to find out years later, they're not great at that, and they shouldn't do that. And that's okay. On the flip side of things, I do want to be an encouragement, because I know that this is kind of like a heavier conversation, and like, hey, there's areas where you're going to have to give up on your dreams. That's part of life, and recognizing what your skills have developed you to. And I think everything is learnable. I do think that pretty much everything is something that you can learn and teach yourself, or learn through experience. I think there are other opportunities that you need to know, that there are some opportunities that you take and you go and you've gained everything you absolutely can from it, and it's time for you to cash out. It's like outgrowing a pair of shoes, right? There comes a point where you love these shoes and they're so awesome, but your feet are kind of busting out the seams and you're outgrowing it. This happens in business all the time. This happens in career all the time. And I see it often where people will outgrow with their skill level and their skill set. They'll say, I should be somewhere else here, but I'm comfortable. I have my friend group here. I like this manager, or I like this, but they don't challenge themselves to actually have the opportunity to break in a new pair of shoes and find that new comfort. So make sure that you're cashing out. And the last thing that I want to talk to you guys about is next opportunity specifically. Your next opportunity. It's hard to hear no. It's really, really hard to hear no. So maybe you are going for a job. Maybe you are asking the girl out. Maybe you are asking the guy out. Or maybe you're just trying to shoot your shot. You know, whatever it might be, there's other examples as well. But that's the one that I think of most in my head is you're doing hard things, right? You're owning up, you're being vulnerable, and you're trying something new, and then you hear no. And somebody who I consider actually one of my better friends, probably I would put them in a best friend category, even though I've never met them in person. I met them via school and then also through other connections, but I had her on my podcast years ago when I was doing a sports broadcasting podcast right before COVID. And Susie Cool is the former sideline reporter for the National Lacrosse League, as well as the AHL, which is the minor league to the NHL, the hockey league. She was also the broadcaster for the Salem Red Sox. And ultimately, she's like an all-around legend. And I do consider her a best friend. So, Susie, if you're listening, these words actually impacted me way more. And this was all the way back in 2020. And it's interesting because I was going through some notes and this interview came up and I wrote in big, big letters this quote from Susie. She said, "Don't be afraid of the word no, because no means next opportunity." And I wrote them in big letters, and it hit me then, and it's hitting me now in the fact that I live by that now. Whether she realizes it or not, she taught me something that has now seeped into my very being, in the fact that I'm not afraid of hearing no, because I know there's going to be other opportunities. I know that my skills have given me the opportunity to see other opportunities and given me the drive to keep going until I get another opportunity. I'm not just going to quit and completely flake out. Even though I might go through seasons where I want to flake out, I have a drive and a passion. And I know that even though I might get a lot of no's, it's just a new opportunity that's coming along the ways. So that's your next opportunity. You may hear a lot of no's, and that is okay. We do not win all the time. We do not win most of the time. We do not always win some of the time. But we do every once in a while get a win. And it's important to recognize where the small wins are and use those to create a foundation for eventually bigger wins down the road. And I truly believe it, right? I think we should all stop focusing on our losses, because there will be an opportunity cost with every decision we make. And the decision-making part of our lives, I believe that's a skill that can be learned. And the more you practice decision-making, the better you get. And the better you get at making decisions, the more you win. It's as simple as that. I truly believe it. It's just the more you win. That's going to do it for this conversation. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to find me on my socials, you can find me on TikTok or X, which is formerly known as Twitter, at Kyle Vaught. That's KYLEV as in Victor ATT. You can find me on Instagram and Threads, Kyle_Vaught. I really appreciate it. Shoot me a follow if you want to send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. If you're watching on YouTube, I so much love you. All the love in the world. Make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button and share this podcast with a friend or two. And if you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, I love you as well. And I hope that you'll share this with somebody. Hit that follow button and rate the 5 stars. It's really, really fun, and I appreciate it. For everybody else, please have a wonderful week. There's so much happening. I'm currently in Houston right now at a conference for my new job that I absolutely love. There's so much to talk about as well. Remember to give grace, show love, and as always, stay stellar. Peace.